This movie deals with the Iran hostage crisis of 1979 to 1981, when Islamic students and militants took over the American embassy in Tehran, the capital of Iran, in support of the Iranian Revolution. The movie begins with setting the scene. We see an overview of the streets of Iran with protesters rioting outside the U.S. Embassy. This immediately creates a chaotic, tense atmosphere for viewers, which establishes the hatred Iranians have towards Americans. After introducing the overall conflict in Iran, the movie switches to American soil. Viewers then see the CIA and its role in helping the Americans of the U.S. Embassy in Iran. The movie will continue to switch back and forth between events in Iran and those in America, as they attempt to help the 6 fugitives return home safely. The main character, Tony Mendez, played by Ben Affleck, is the mastermind behind the Hollywood option. It is his job to go to Iran and retrieve the fugitives. His plan involves adopting cover identities as Canadian filmmakers who are searching for a location to film their movie Argo in order to get past security for a flight back to America. Tony Mendez must convince the fugitives once he arrives in Iran to trust him and his plan of escape. Before leaving for Iran, Tony wrote a birthday card to his son. This shows his emotional and caring nature. When convincing the fugitives to proceed with his plan, he reveals his true identity to gain their trust. Additionally, he believes it is his responsibility to bring them home, even after his boss ordered a stop on the operation. This displays his moral nature. The fugitives, as a whole, are very skeptical of Tony and his plan, but knowing they have no better options, they decide to proceed with the operation. Because of their uneasy, fragile state, they bring out the confidence in Tony, as he must subdue their doubts. The U.S. ambassadors proved to be very intellectual. They performed well under pressure, memorizing their new identity details, and skillfully playing their roles as filmmaker while being constantly judged and even interrogated. The Iranian revolutionists are in a mental state where all people are their enemies. They walk around with weapons, killing anyone they believe to be associated with America or supporters of the Shah in general. This creates tension in the movie, which in turn causes a great deal of stress for Tony. The American government plays an important role behind the Hollywood option. Even though the CIA doubted the effectiveness of Tony's plan at first, it still followed through in authorizing plane tickets back for the fugitives at the last minute. The fact that Tony continued to carry it out without permission shows his strength and determination. In order to make the Iranians believe that Argo was a real Hollywood movie, Tony enlisted the help of a real Hollywood film crew, whose support contrasts the negative reactions of the CIA. Their positive outlook and enthusiasm helped make Tony's plan achievable. The movie begins by giving the background information behind the relationship between Iran and the U.S., setting the stage for the hostage crisis that arises. The information is portrayed through cartoons that morph into real photographs or videos. This captures the audience and creates visual appeal, while also introducing the overall conflict of the movie. In order to create a chaotic atmosphere in the opening scene where Iranian revolutionaries attack the U.S. Embassy, the camera angles jump quickly to both far and near shots of different locations to convey a feeling of disorder and distress. The camera is unsteady as it follows close-up shots of the rioting masses and of U.S. soldiers with their guns. The footage is very raw and furthers the commotion of the break-in. Throughout the movie, the audience is shown different perspectives of the crisis and the vast exposure the crisis is receiving through the radio and TV snippets shown periodically. Since much of the movie takes place in Iran, some interactions are made in Farsi, with English translations given only some of the time. The lack of subtitles in certain scenes are purposeful and allow for the audience to share in the confusion and suspense also felt by the refugees. In the early scenes of the movie, upbeat music is played during the introduction of the history of the crisis, along with the planning of possible escape plans, especially that of Argo with the movie producers. This portrays the hope that is present early on in the staging of the Hollywood option. This music correlates with the lighter mood felt in Hollywood compared to the atmosphere in scenes in Iran. In Iran, there is less music and a use of dramatic silences to display the tension and foreign nature of the country. During scenes of waiting and deliberating, suspenseful music is played to intensify the stress and dramatize the situation. Finally, at the end of the movie, when everyone has returned home safely, there is much upbeat and celebratory music. Being based off of a true story, this movie accounts for the historical violence that America constantly encounters as a global power. This movie stresses and emphasizes the caution Americans should consider when dealing with foreign nations. People should be aware of opposing views that could potentially be dangerous. This movie also incorporates standing up for personal beliefs and taking the initiative to help others. Since the movie concept is based off of historical events, the plot of the movie is very important, as Hollywood should be trying to portray the events as accurately as possible.